Welcome to Part 2, Competency 15. In this video, we will work with types of graphs from Competency 15. Number 1, select the stem and leaf plot that represents the data below. And they've given you quite a few data items here. Actually, this is been recycled from another prior number in the last video. Okay, so we know that right here we have a total of 36 data points. Okay, that's our total. And I also want to mention that these are discrete data points, and that's why a stem and leaf would be appropriate. We don't have fractional uh, intervals, intermediate, in between our whole numbers. We're only using the whole numbers representing one particular situation from that exercise, okay, or that question. Okay, so now the first thing I want to mention is you can right now stop the video, enter all these in your TI-84 if you remember how to do it, or I'll show you in a second where to go, and then stop the video and then you can catch up with what I'm doing. You know, you're ready, already entered. Okay, before we even do that, let's analyze what we have, okay? Let's look at C and D, and I want to point them out. They do not follow the definition or the properties of what we are looking for. Let me explain why. First off, we have 2 digits, okay? And in the tens place, we don't have all zeros. This can be constructed for other reasons, and notice they're sorted, but that is not what our stem and leaf plot should be, especially with what our purposes are. Now let's go to D. I like the way it looks as far as our stem. Looks like that's our tens place. However, I don't like the way it's split here. You have 2 columns. Well, this is called a split stem and leaf, of course. So it's a split. It has its purposes, but not for this, especially not middle school. In fact, throughout the years, I've only dealt with this type of plot a few times. So I am going to say that's not a selection. I know it isn't a selection. I'll tell you how. In our question, they asked very generally. If they wanted the split, they would have said it. So that was not a detail of the question. Okay. All right. So that leaves us with A and B. They're very close. You might be able to spot the difference quickly. You may not. I'm looking at it going, maybe, maybe not. So at this point, I'm going to show you how to put it in, and then you can stop your video if you need to. Okay. So we're going to push stat. Notice it is highlighted on edit. That is what we want. We push enter and notice our L1, L2, L3. I have got them populated for this particular series of questions, okay? So you need to, or to go along with what I'm doing, go ahead, put all your data into L1, clear yours out and put it in. Okay, remember, clear them out. Do not push delete when you're clearing out your L1, or just clear them out one at a time, okay? All right, now, in order to know that I need my total of 36, well, I made L2 a guiding column, okay? So let's arrow over, and if I arrow up twice, it pops me to the bottom of the list. Notice I have 36. And then I can use L2 to guide me with the other columns of entry. I just put it all in because we have several columns that we can populate and do more than one problem at once. So how do you do that? Well, now watch what I'm doing. I'm going to arrow down and it gets me back to the top of the list. That's a good way to move around quickly. All right, this is how I did it. Go up, highlight your L2. Okay. All right. And then leave it there. Now I'm going to put second stat and arrow over to your ops, your operations. And I want number 5. That means enter in a sequence of numbers. And let me push 5 and I'll show you. Now they're saying, Well, what sequence do you want? Well, I want an expression of just x because I just want x being 1, then x being 2, then x being 3. Well, that leads me to the next thing. The variable, well, just the x, okay? I don't want, that's all I'm dealing with is just going down and replacing that x value with the numbers all in a sequence of what I want. Okay, now starting. Well, I'm going to start at 1. Now I'm going to go to end. Well, it's 1 to 36 because my total is 36. Okay, just so happens that's the greatest number I needed for these questions. Okay, now I'm going to go down and paste. Okay, and see what it did. It put in another one. I'm going to clear that out. Okay, all that cleared out. Now let's see, second, enter. I'm going to try it one more time. All right, I need number 5. And push enter, 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 and see what happens. What does it give me? I'm going to have to clear the whole. Oh, okay, now let's enter it out again. Okay, and it just automatically populated. It was already populated. You might have seen it happen in a blink of an eye. It kind of flickered a little, but that's how you do it if you haven't seen my other videos, okay? For those of you who know how to do it. Sorry, sorry about that. You have to show everybody. Okay, now next thing. What do I need to do? Well, look at your stem and leaf. They're all in order. Well, that's what we need. We need them to all be in order. Okay, so let's go over to our L1, go up and highlight. And we're going to go through the same process and you'll see where we need to be for this. Okay, so we're going to push. Remember, you have to highlight the column, the L1, whatever, L1, L2. We're in L1. You need that highlighted, then go second, stat, then go over to ops and see where it says sort A. Okay. All right. A meaning we're starting at the top, not at the bottom. Okay. We're going to sort A. All right. Enter. Now, which column were we on? We were on L1. So that's second. And see the number 1 with the L1. Enter. Close. I like to close my parentheses. Enter. It says, hey, I'm done. Go get what you need. So push that. Enter, and there it is. Oh, nice and convenient for us. Now you can count. It's all in order, and we can go down and see what we should see. I see on both of my A and B, both our stem leaf, we have 81, then we should have 3 59s. I mean, not 81. We have 58. Now we should have 3 of our 59s. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yes. But the next value is a 60. And that 60 is right here. That is true for A. Now let's look down at B. It's missing. Nowhere to be found. So that means B is not an option and A is. Okay. Now on a test, I have come across some practice tests and a few other important tests for teaching that, and even the students have been asked to put in these numbers. So you may be asked to, you may have to sit there with the students and do this, and you may have to do it on a test. It is better to put them in and find a system of how to double check every number you put in than it is to sit and try to put these all in order. I've tested it. It's just faster with the calculator. And then the calculator saves a situation where you can double check and quickly find an error. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Number 2, Ben has kept track of his bowling scores for the 30 most recent games where his low score was 160 and his high score was 219. Okay, and here's his scores, and they're lined up 10 in a row, so we know that's 30. Okay, and we need to, again, identify the stem leaf that we need to use. Okay, in this situation, again, I'm going to say, yeah, select the stem and leaf that represents the data below. Okay, it should say data above. Oh, hang on. I'll just correct that right now. Above. It's always nice when we have, I think the data got moved around. There we go. All right. Okay, so let's look at this. For the last question, rather, we talked about the split stem and leaf and that it wasn't appropriate. Well, what do we have here? We have another split, and we know that's not appropriate for our purposes. Now, if you don't know the properties using the ones, tens, and hundreds place value for stem and leaf, place value is very, very important. So before we move on, let's go and put all of them in order, and I'll talk about that. Well, wait a second. No, I see another split. Look, and it gives these blanks right here. That's highly inappropriate. And the question says it represents. Well, that doesn't really represent our data correctly. It would be an inappropriate stem leaf for our purposes. So let's mark that one out. So now we're down to 2. Okay. Now this would be easy to spot, okay? And I can tell you why. Because on the leaf part, that should always be our ones place. Okay, but look at C. C has got the tens and the ones. Well, this is inappropriate. So it having a stem of just a tens value isn't for hundreds, tens, and ones. So for our 3-digit numbers, C will not work, and A is the only option. However, I want to go back to my calculator here, just in case, if you want to, pause the video, put the numbers in, practice, because this easy situation, doubt that'll be the case on a practice test or any of the high importance valuations that you're going to run into as a student, a teacher, or for your student. This is just too easy. This is for explanation purposes, not for a good question. If you understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, so let's go look at this stat. All right, let's push enter. All right, now we are in which one? We're over here in L3. So what we need to do is we need to sort our L3. I've entered them first off. We should have 10, 20, 30. Okay, 30 data points. So let's go up twice, and that gets me back to the bottom of the list. And as you can see, 30, the 30th data point over here is 192. So you know at least I have 30 in there, and they're probably in there correctly, okay? I've double checked this. Got my fingers crossed, right? Okay, so now we're where we need to be. But what do we really need to do? We need to sort them. So we can double check across, over here across with our stem leaf over here for A. All right, so let's go up to L3. And again, second data, arrow over to ops. It's highlighted on the right sort, the sort we want. Enter. Now we need L3. Okay, so that's second 3. See the L3 right there? Okay, push enter. Oh, look, I didn't close my parentheses. That's something about that bothers me. But it's still going to work. Watch what happens. It doesn't affect anything. It's just a habit I have. There we go. And it did say up here, if you notice, it said it should start at 160 and end at 219. So let's arrow up twice to get us to the bottom. And yes, the 30th data point is 219. So at least we know that's correct. But what can we do? I'm going to go back up. I'm going to start looking at what we have. So look, the first 2 digits are 16. How many of those items do we have? Not only can we count how many items we have, how many numbers, I can also see what's in the ones place. So we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before it changes to the 17. And then the ones place digits are 0, 1, 2, 3, 8, and 9. Perfect. So you can go ahead and match them up, do this yourself, but you can see that A is the correct option. But I wanted to go through the whole process with you with this simple one. So when they get more difficult, you can have an idea. Okay, she said go back and check it this way. Here's a little trick. It gives you the whole explanation if you haven't watched videos with me before. Number 3, below is a list of the average high temperatures in San Antonio, Texas from June 20th, 2024 to July 15, 2024. Okay, now we notice that they're color coded, the data is, and we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 in each row. So that gives us 10, 20, 2, 4, 6. So we have a total of 26. We need to measure that amount, how many we put in the calculator. Okay, now. And there's where the information came from. Okay, create a frequency distribution with class width. This is the class. The width needs to be 5 and select a histogram of the data. Okay, so to create this, I'm going to tell you before we begin that we will need a range of data. So we need to figure out what is the range. Range is your smallest value uh, subtracted from your largest. Okay, whatever that amount is, that distance. Okay, so let's figure out what that is. So let's go to stat, and number 1's highlighted. That's what we need. Enter. Now all this data has already been entered in. If you take a look at it, it's in L4, and we see we have 82.4, then 93, 95. At this point, you may want to stop the video, enter it in the calculator for yourself, and then move on. Okay? All right. So let's double check that we have a total of 26. So I'm going to arrow up, 1, 2. And if you look, the last piece of data is the 90.32. And it is, if you go over to our measuring column, L2, that it is 26. So there's 26 items in there. And you can kind of double check the numbers for yourself, what I have here. Make sure you go and double check. Although if you make a teeny tiny decimal error, sometimes the histogram will put it in the right place and not catch it. It just depends on where the mistake is. All right, let me see here. We have 95 point. Then I've double checked this a few times. I'm pretty sure we're good. If not, we can go back and look again. Okay, so and now what do we do? Well, I'm going to arrow down. Remember, arrowing down gets us pop back up at the top. I'm going to highlight my L4. We need the range. And the only way that we're going to get this range, our largest number, subtracting our smallest, is to sort the values. So highlight your column, your L4, and push second stat, arrow over to your operations, and you want number 1. You want to sort from the smallest to largest. So let's push enter. Now remember, we put it in L4. So second stat. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me do it again. Okay, never mind. All right, lost my mind today. Okay, second stat, arrow over. At least you get to see me do it several times. Now, we want L, so we want second number 4 for the L4. There we go. And if you remember the other question I did, you don't have to close the parentheses, but I do anyway. So close them, enter. Now it says, hey, we're done doing what you asked. So let's just push that back to our list. And look, it's all in order. So looks like this is our lowest value. Now let's arrow up twice to get us to the bottom. And this point, the 101.12. So that was over 101 that day. So now, largest to smallest. Now, here's my word of warning. We're doing a histogram. All of our data is going to be in between these classes, okay? So the classes have to make sure they get certain values. So honestly, our lowest whole value is going to be the 82, Okay, so honestly, we need to change this to 82 to be the lowest, and then we need 102. So we need 102 to actually be the greatest value. That way we're catching the low and the high. Okay, we want to put it within that interval. Each band or interval, we want to make sure it's in there. And the only way to do that is to go a little bit above the high and a tiny bit below. Why? They're decimals. Okay. And I'll show you how we continue this, how they're all going to be caught. Okay. You'll see what I'm talking about. Okay. Now we want that minus the 82. Well, actually, I already know, and you probably can see that that's a total of 20. That we know that we have a range, a good solid range of 20. So if we take that 20 and we divide it by 4, okay? So now we need to know how many bends, how many intervals. So number of bends, okay? That's the column. See here in the blue below? That's what we need. Oh, if I could spell. All right, here we go. All right, we need the number of those. How many do we need? We need. We know the width, it's 5. Well, that is the 20 divided by 4 divided by 5 gives us 4. Okay. Well, you can see if you're looking down at option A below, you can tell that one's already not going to work. Okay. We'll get back to that. Okay, so that means I need 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And how are my bends? What are they going to look like? Okay. Well, I know that, let's scoot over. Okay. I know that they're going to start with 82. All right. I know I'm only going to have 4 of them. So I'm going to put total here. Okay. All right. Total just to gauge so we have all the numbers we need. Okay. So I am going to have 82 there. Okay. But I need 102 here. Okay. I'm going to scoot that over because we're going to have more to write in here. Okay. All right. So then I'm going to have 102 here. Okay. Now I need this to be 5. So what do if we're going to have 5, a class of width of 5. So 86, 80, I'm sorry, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86. Okay. Okay. But in order for this to work correctly, let's see, we divide it, we have a width of 5, we're going to have 4 bins. Yeah. So that means we're going to go a little above, a little below, and a little above to catch them all. So really what we're doing is it's a classified, but it's really going to be 6, okay? Watch. So that'll be 87. So think about it. You're talking about between 82 and 87. Okay, so if you literally put your fingers up and go in between the numbers, if you have 80, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, in between those, you have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In between them, you have 5 like spaces for Ben. Just get used to it. The first time I saw this when I was young, I was like, this is crazy. But it is actually how they do it. Okay, so now once we get the first class correct, now we just go from there. Okay, so we have 88 now. Now we need to count 6 numbers: 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93. Then you go to 93. And then we're going to go to 94. And from 94, you need to go to 99. See how like it's 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. Well, that's 5 numbers. Okay? It's really a better way to think of it, but it's not how it was explained to me. So if you say 82, you're going to go, okay, 82, 81, sorry, 82, you're going to go 83, 84, 85, 86, 87. Well, that's 5 numbers. Okay? All right. So then we have 99 to, we said 102. Still going to have to change because our bends won't work. Doesn't matter. So we're going to 100. All right, now It's really going to take us, when we add in the bends to make it appropriate, we're going to end up at 105. Why? They said a class with 5 numbers. So we have to do what they've asked us to do. We started with our estimated very low of 82. If we round, it really is 82. And then we add 5 to each one. That's what it ends up being. Okay. Just needed you to see that. You might want to look at other histograms and practice. Okay. All right. Now, with this, we got more to say. Okay. Because we need our frequencies. So now we're going to have to, I'll just give them to you for the sake of the length of the video, but let's begin by going back to the beginning. Okay, we need, how many numbers are between 82 and actually 87? That's just one. Okay, and then we need 88. How many numbers in our list are between 88 and 93? Well, if we go count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 between 93. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But here's the thing. We really need to say 7. You're like, oh no, but that says 93. Well, we are actually rounding. So let me show you what's actually happening. You're going to go, okay, there's tons of rounding going on here. Yes, there are. Okay. And these histograms were created with a computer program. So really what's going on? We're doing more rounding beyond the classes than what you think. The breaking point of each class, yes, you see 5. However, let me change my color. Let's go with the green. Okay, so what's really happening is you're putting plus 0.5. You have to be halfway between. Okay, so that means this is our halfway between is 87 and a half is the breaking point. At 93.5, 99.5. And then we can go over just a little by 0.5. It's a catch-all because we have decimal points. I know, confusing, but it's the way it's done. And if I show you now and you go look at some, and then also another way you can tell what's appropriate is, what do the histograms look like and how are they numbered? And that's what I'm going to show you here in a moment. Okay, so we do have 7 here, and then 14, and then 4, and that does equal 26. This 93, where is it on our list? The 93, oh, it's right here, second number, 93.38. That actually would round down to 93. So that's why we have the half catch-all, okay? Plus a half, okay, we can take it because it's lower than the 0.5. So you're accepting it by rounding it down, okay? In that category. It's in that class because it rounds down to 93. Best way to explain it. Now, let's go back to how many classes must we have? We can only have 4 because they said that you have 5. You take your 20, divide it by 5, okay? All right, so that means A doesn't work. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 6. No, that's not going to work. It doesn't satisfy the question. Let's go to this next one. B, 1, 2, 3, 4. Great, I like it. Okay, now let's look at how it breaks down the intervals, okay? The bends. The bends are within this interval, okay? So we only had one temperature, okay, in this bin, and look, it's a half less than 82, 81.5. So it's trying to catch all of those decimal values, okay? And then look, they're all at the half I discussed with you. And I know that there are other ways to do histograms. This is the way that we will teach children. We start in middle school. and you'll see this at the university. There are other things for other purposes, but this is generally what you are going to see. Honestly, I didn't know there were other ways until I was much older. And I was like, okay, whatever. You guys are changing your mind now. But for testing purposes, that's what you need to see. Halfway in between, counting and halfway in between. Now, our top value on the bin 1, 2, 3 should be 14. Let's go up. Let's go up. And that is what we had. That's right here. 14. And then the next one should be 4. So let's go check it. And look, here's the correct numbers. 87.5, 93.5, 99.5, 105.5. Let's see if they work. 87, 93, 90. Yes. Perfect. So I'm going to say right now, I'm all for B. Okay. Okay. You do have 4 bands, but they don't catch the decimals correctly. They're not halfway in between. So C will not work. Okay. All right. If some of the things I said were confusing, rewind the video, stop it, watch it again, enter the things in your calculator, take a look at it. Another thing, go look at textbooks for children for that age level of the middle school, high school, and go see what's being taught. And possibly the best thing too is go look at an old STAR test. I would recommend that. Go look at a release STAR test from the state of Texas and see what they're giving the kids. The recorded low temperatures for last year for 25 cities were collected. The results are displayed in a grouped frequency distribution. That's what we have here with the classes and the frequency, which appear as follows. Okay, they want us to create an appropriate histogram. Okay, so let's make sure they said we should have 25 cities. Okay, forgive me if I don't believe them. Okay, so this is 8, then that's 10. Okay, and that is 15, so that's 25. So yeah, we have a total of 25. So we can trust that, 25 cities. Okay, so what are we doing? We are creating an appropriate histogram. Okay, do you remember or rather, let me state that in the last, uh, for the last number that we just did, we had our classes, and really these classes are estimates of groupings. Okay, so we need to go +5 or -5 on this side over here. Like start with a 3, that's going to be 2.5. So it catches it. And then we're -5 over on this side on the left, but on the right, we're plus. So this is 9.5 and 16.5. And then we have 23.5. Okay, so it'll be the same. Like this number will be the same, and then this number. Okay, once you get started with the lowest one, okay, then you just create the intervals. Okay, then we have 30.5, and then we should end with 37.5. Okay, if you don't remember what we did for number 3, just back the video up and just pause it and kind of look at what the actual answer had. Okay, now, how do we do that real quick? Well, let's see, we have 25. All right, let me change it totally like green so you can really see it. Okay, so what we have here is for our frequencies, our lowest is 2 and our highest is 9. So that means that the highest is 9. So that's like a difference in 8. So we really need to go from 1 to 10 is probably our best bet. So we have to actually number our grid. They have it set up for us, okay? And obviously this will be 0. But we need to figure out how we're going to section these out. Now, if you remember, we don't want to start at 0. We don't. What we want to look at is we need 2.5. So this is not a coordinate. We're not doing a coordinate plane, okay? So let's go with this. So that means right here that we are going to start with 2.5. And then from 2.5, we're going to, because our intervals, let's see, they're 6. I believe our actual class size is 6. Let me see here if they are or not. We have 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, there's 6. And then you add one more on, which are your halves. So we need to go to 9.5 and then 16.5. And then our next one would be 23.5 and then 30.5. And then we can end with 37.5. Okay, 37.5. Okay, now where are we going to start? Well, we need the first one, and our maximum, we need to go from 1 to 10 because 9 right here is this value. So let's see here. I'm going to change colors. So let's see. Let's go by 2s then, because that way we'd have enough room. Let's think about this. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. If we did it by 1s, it wouldn't fit in our grid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, we need 10. And we have that by doing it. And, you could even write a title up above, so it gives you room. Anyway, this is how I kind of like show the students how to do this. Not the easiest thing to show young people, but after a while they get the drift. I'm going to fix that. Okay. I want to make sure you can read my writing. Okay. So let's pick a color and color this in. The first one, go down just a little. Okay, if I can go down. Okay, there. The first one is to 3. So that's going to be right there. Let's find a different color and a little bit wider. Okay. Oops, not there. So let's go right here at 3. So we're going to go from here to here. And we can literally just color it in. All right, great. All right. And in some cases, they put numbers above it to ensure that you see the number. Okay, so I can't color the lines. For this, I don't care. Okay, so we're going to go up to 5. So 5 is right here. Okay. And then, of course, we can get another color and color it in. Okay. Let's go with another one. Let's just grab blue. And that's going to be the 9, which will be right here. Okay. Well, I'm not exactly great with this, but we'll put numbers above it for safety's sake. Okay. All right. Okay. And 6 is the next value. 4, let's make sure 26 would be from the 23.5 to, yep, we're still right. Okay, so 20, oh, so it goes right here. Okay. And the reason that if you get a study guide that they ask you to do these things is one, you may be asked a question, not necessarily in this domain, but if you take a question like this and you stick it in domain 20, they will ask you, they'll show you a student constructed one, possibly very much like this. And then they would say, what error do you see that the student made? And you would have to know how to transfer those halves and what should be included, what isn't included. So it's a skill that you need to know so you can see what their misunderstanding is. Student misunderstandings happen with the the strangest topics. I've discovered this over the years. Things that you think, oh, my students understand this. And then when you have them go, you ask them, could you draw what the question means? Could you show me what they're talking about? Draw that for me. And you get some strange things. Okay. So our drawing is complete. Looks good. That is what you would be, that's something that you would want a student to turn into you. Even at high school level. Of course, it probably would look neater by then, but still, that's all this question wanted us to do. Number 5, the mayor of Slayton, Texas, has mailed a survey to 1,000 adult residents who were asked to rate the quality of the mayor's ability to govern the town. The 5 ratings given were excellent, that's 2/5, very good at 1/3, average at 1/10, below average at 1/12, and poor at 1/12. Okay. And it says select the appropriate graph. So looks like the graphs are going to be pie graphs. Okay. All right. Well, before we even look at the pie graphs, we need to do a little bit of looking at our situation. Okay. All right. So you grab another color that's a little darker and change. Okay. All right. So what they're doing is you have a part over total of all these. So let's look at excellent. We need to put that in the calculator. So we're going to take this 2/5 times that's times 1,000. So I'm going to say 1,000, another 0, parentheses, and then put 2 divided by 5 and close it. 400 people. So I know that 400 people said he was excellent. So I'm going to put it over here. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the others. Now watch what I do. I'm going to go back up, grab it, bring it down, and then I'm going to say 1 divided by 3. Okay, and I'm going to enter. That is 33 and 1/3 people, but 0.33333, that rounds. Okay. Right? It's a repeated number rather. 333 and 1/3. Okay. Now let's do the same thing we did before. This time we need to just replace that with 10, close the parentheses, and we have 100. 100 of the surveyed residents. Okay. Below average, 112. Back up, enter to bring it down, replace the 0 with a 2, push enter, and that's 83 and 1/3. 83, 1/3. And that's for both of these, for the below average and the poor. Oh, I put a decimal. Okay. And 1/3. Okay. So let's take a look at the first option, option A. This image isn't going to work because we need 800. I mean, they have 800, we need 400. So that's not going to work. So let's continue. Okay. Now, let's take a look at B. What they had is rounded, and it looks like it's out of 100. Well, we had decimal options. One is the decimals, and even if we went with this as out of 100, we would have to add that up, and they would have to be 100. So let's see, 40 plus 8 plus 8 plus the 10 and plus the 33. It's only 99. Okay, so that's showing that there is an error because our decimals were taken off, and even rounded it would be better, would be more appropriate. So let's look at the last one. Okay, there are only A, B, and C options on this one. Okay, yes, we do have 400 and we have 83.33, which gives us a good decimal. Then we add it, it's going to look better. Then we have the 100 and the 333.33. Let's add all those up and see if that gets us our 1,000 people. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. We have 400 plus 83.33 plus 83.33 plus 100 plus the 333.3. Okay, that's very close to the 1,000 applicants. Now, we know that this is going to be the option because they're talking about how many people. Okay, it said appropriate. Now, it could have been that this is sliced up and that we just have the actual fractions. So this would be 2/5 of the 1,000. Now, these were 1/12. Okay. This one, the 100, well, that's 1/10. And this one was, what was it? It was, sorry, I can't remember. Let me look. Or let's just bounce back up here. That was, oh, 1/3. Well, of course, because it said it's got that 0.333. Okay, well, 1/12 had that too. So anyway, that's 1/3 of the population. Now, if you add all those fractions up, they will equal 1. Okay, because it's a pie graph. It has to be 100%. Either has to represent 100% of the population or one whole, the one whole, meaning all the fractions added together, one or the other. Or it could represent the percentages, the percentage representation of each of those fractions. Okay. Number 6, during the first 6 months of this year, Carlos kept track of how many projects, including lesson plans, were assigned to him. The results are as follows: August 28, September 22, October 42. 42 is kind of high because they have a note here saying that a coworker out very ill this month. So he took on extra. So then it looks like in November, they lightened up on him and gave him 8 because he took up the slack. Okay, then in December, 12 projects, but then January, 40. I could kind of see January with test prep and stuff. But anyway, those are just values. They're random given. Okay, so it says select the appropriate time series graph, time series. Okay. The first thing we need to notice is which one of those is absolutely 100% not a time series. Well, we know that that would be D. Okay. Now, the properties of a time series mean that the dots are connected. And A is actually a scatter plot. Yes, it has a positive correlation, but still a scatter plot with a correlation. So I'm going to have to get rid of that. And now we have 2. They are crazy similar. This means that we need to use our TI-84 to actually graph those. And you can graph them, okay? So let me show you how to do that. We are going to use the scatter plot up here on the left. So you push second and the y equals. Now you have to make sure that your plot is on, and our plot is on, okay? So I'm showing you which one, and then we need to go put our data in, okay? Now, make sure your plot is on, meaning the on is highlighted black and it's flashing, okay? Right, then we go over and go down. Now, we don't have the correct plot on. So what we want is this one, the second one. So enter, so it highlights. Now notice it flipped and it wants us to enter the correct L1, L2, okay? But looks like that's not the case here. Okay, so we need to back out, second mode to back out. and we need to go to our stat, enter. Okay. Now remember, we had all these others preloaded. So we need to scoot over and we're going to use L5 and L6. Okay. So we're going to put the months in L1 and these frequencies in L2. Okay. All right. I'm going to change this to something a little brighter. Okay. All right. So we have L1. That's supposed to be in L1. At this point, it doesn't look like that, does it? L1. Okay. Now let's go. Oh, what am I saying? Oh my goodness. I apologize. I just said we're using 5 and 6, not L1. We could clear it out, but I don't want to. So you can see that you can keep going. See, if you play with your calculator, you see you have a lot you could store. I mean, if you're taking a test and you realize, I didn't think about that one right. What was I doing? Then you still have the list and you don't like in your calculator. You don't have to go re-enter it and you can fix the button you push wrong or your error just in case. It's always a safety thing. Okay, so we have our months and we need to actually order those as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. It says first, and they say first 6 months of the year. They don't mean a regular year. They're saying school year. Okay. It doesn't matter. We need to number them as 1, enter 2, enter 3, enter 4, enter 6, enter. Okay. And then go over. And we need to put in 28 in the first one. The second one is 22. And then the next one, October, is 42. Then November was 8. And then 12. And the last one is 40. Okay. Now, we can go back to the scatter plot. And I know it's called scatter plot, but notice it has other graphs that help you with measures of central tendency and those related items. Okay, so I'm going to back out and then second y equal, go into my plot. It's still on, it's in the right place. But remember, we're using L5 and L6. Okay, second 5, enter, and then second 6, enter. Now notice I can put it on the little, I'm going to leave it on the little squares because they're big enough for you to see. So you can kind of measure, visually what we need. Okay, so I'm going to back out, second mode. Okay, now remember, if you've watched videos with me, we use zoom. Now, which one? We want 9. We put in data. That's why zoom stat often works the best. And there it is. Okay, now we need to be careful when we guide or use this. You can see that the very top data point is just barely above the very right one. Okay, so if we look here and look at the difference, see that? It has to be C. Okay, B would be too far down, right? Looks like it is like just very close. This is a little different here too. Very, very close. A little hard to eyeball it. But if you look at your calculator, you can tell. Okay. All right. Now let's go to the last question. And it says, use the information from question 6. What is the mean of his workload for the 6 months? Okay. And mean is average. So what's his average monthly workload? Okay, that's what they mean. So we need to go second mode to get us out. Now, what are we going to do? We need to go find that mean. And I'll tell you how to do it quick. You could take those and divide them. Don't bother. Just push stat, go over to calc, see where it says 1 var stat, push enter. And we need the information just from L6, okay? So second 6 for that L6, push enter. You don't want the frequency table, so enter, just L6 by itself. And the very first value, that is the mean. The X bar actually means mean of your sample data. If you watch other videos with me, if you have, you know what that means. If not, okay, this is also something what all of these items mean under one bar stats. Okay, so for number 7, we are looking at, 25. We have two 25s. That one won't work. That one won't work. Okay, but we have a third. 0.3333 is a third. Do not try to round it to that half. Well, that wouldn't make sense anyway. So that would be our option B. Okay, thank you for watching the videos with us and putting up with my extra information. If you like our videos, could you give us a like, a share, and please subscribe to keep the free information coming. Thank you very much.